Did you know that this was the first Disney animated film to use CGI for an entire sequence? This would happen in the finale of the film. And did you know that this film gave Disney management faith in the animation department once again? Come find out why in 100 Facts about the Great Mouse Detective. The Great Mouse Detective is the 26th Disney animated feature film. It was released in 1986 and received positive reviews. The film is based on a series of books by Eve Titus called Basil of Baker Street. It is heavily influenced by Sherlock Holmes, and the lead character Basil emulates the detective throughout the books. The idea of doing an animated film about Sherlock Holmes with animals was first discussed during the production of The Rescuers. Veteran layout artist Joe Hale is credited with suggesting to adapt the children's book series Basil of Baker Street. But the project fell into development limbo because of the similarities to The Rescuers. There was a change in management going on behind the scenes. Ron Miller, who was Walt Disney's son-in-law and president of the company, had resigned. Michael Eisner became the new CEO, and Jeffrey Katzenberg became the new chairman of the film division.
After the move, Jeffrey called a meeting of all the animators so the crew could air their questions and concerns. So Jeffrey got up and said, "All right guys, give me your best shot. Hit me in the solar plexus, ask me anything. I've got rhino skin." And somebody piped up and said, "We don't think you know what you're doing."
And I said, "Look, I'm here, I'm not going away, and I'm more than happy to learn and take the time and be educated by you. The fact is that the last couple of animated movies made were not particularly good."
The Disney company changed from a family business into Hollywood. Eisner and Katzenberg watched a story reel screening of Basil of Baker Street. They were not too sure what they were watching, as they weren't used to stories being presented in this method. This was a method that dated back to Walt Disney, with Walt acting out the entire story with storyboards. Eisner and Katzenberg complained about the slow pacing of the story and ordered for rewrites before the animation would commence.
One of the first things Roy did was he arranged one day for us to be pitched the storyboards for the entire movie.
So going back to what animation really is supposed to be.
And for the better part of 3 hours, literally the entire movie was pitched to us.
There was one storyboard, and then they bring in another storyboard, and you'd sit there for hours, and I couldn't remember what was in the first storyboard, and it was a very hard process for me to deal with. I've been used to dealing in the script area.
So when it was over, we all sort of said thanks very much and great job, and Michael said, "Walk back to my office with me." So we walked back, and on the way back to the office, he said, "What do you think?" I said, "I have no idea." And he said, "Neither do I." I said, "Well, here's the thing. We have 175 people, and we're paying them every day to come to work. And we're going to pay them whether they make this movie or they don't make this movie, so I guess we probably ought to make the movie." And he says to me, "Well, that's exactly my feeling, too."
Michael Eisner cut the production budget from $24 million to just $10 million. He moved the release date up to July 1986, giving the production team just 1 year to complete the film. Originally, the design for Ratigan was thin, weaselly and rat-like. Glenn Keane said that when the voice actor, Vincent Price, was cast, he redesigned the character to have a new attitude. Glenn Keane decided to base the stature of Ratigan on the previous Disney president Ron Miller, who was a 6'6" former football player. Glenn was looking through photographs of railroad men in London in the 1800s. And there was this one guy smoking a cigar who had a top hat on and was the perfect inspiration for Glenn Keane's new design. A new team of animators were coming up through the ranks and would become the base of the Renaissance era. These included Mark Henn for Basil, Rob Menkoff for Olivia, Andreas Deja for Queen Mastoria, and Mike Gabriel for Toby and Felicia. This was one of the first Disney films to use CGI for a sequence. This was used for the finale sequence in Big Ben. Animators spent months designing the interior of Big Ben, with each gear produced as wireframe graphics on a computer. This was then printed out and traced onto animation cells. This scene was 2 minutes, which made it the first Disney film to extensively use computer animation, a factor that Disney used to promote the film during the marketing. The film was the last work to feature Eric Larson as animation consultant before his retirement. Larson was the last of Disney's 9 old men to work on a Disney film, the group that had defined much of Disney's success in the films. The character of Dr. Dawson was modelled on Larson as a tribute. Peter Snyder was hired as the first president of Walt Disney Feature Animation, and this sometimes created some friction between him and the animators.
And the main weapon to fight the man was the dreaded caricature.
Well, Peter was kind of a scary thing, a small frame, wiry, and, full of nervous energy. He was like, "Nyeh."
He looked like he was about 15 years old. He had this perpetual smile that everybody caricatured. It was like this kind of wide-eyed, predatory smile that really worried people.
You'd go into his office, he would just sit all twisted up like a pretzel. It was odd, and he had a little button that closed the door behind you when you went in. When the door closed, you'd kind of look back and see if there were scratch marks on it or something like that.
There was a film released in 1985 called Young Sherlock Holmes, which did not do well in the box office. The heads of Disney decided to rename Basil of Baker Street into The Great Mouse Detective, feeling the name Basil was too English. The retitling of the film was very unpopular with the filmmakers, so much that the animators wrote a joke memo that was sent around the office. The memo was made to look like it was sent by studio executive Peter Snyder, and this was a joke at his expense. And to put it lightly, he was not happy with this.
There was this team sport mentality. You can't play the game unless everybody's firing off on all cylinders. Even if you're second string, you were hungry to be part of this, to jump into the game. There was an openness, a permission almost, to be critical about anything. Anything but the marketing department. Marketing thought that the title Basil of Baker Street was a real head-scratcher and they wanted to change it. So Peter sent off a memo announcing that they were changing the title to The Great Mouse Detective.
The resistance was pretty fierce, and we all started trying things to get it to be our way, and it wasn't going to change.
One of the artists got the bright idea to send out a fake memo in Peter's name saying that now all the Disney films will be renamed. From now on, Snow White would become Seven Little Men Help a Girl, and Pinocchio would be The Wooden Boy Who Became Real. Peter saw the joke memo as undermining his authority and demanded to know who wrote the memo. The artist saw it as good, clean fun and kept the author a secret. They even sent it up to Jeffrey's office for added amusement.
Peter, I think his tires were slashed or somebody busted his window in his car in the back parking lot. Some really mature way to handle the situation. Peter came in and put us all in the screening room and just tore us a new one.
That was the fabled triple veiner that Peter had, where, he was like levitating and glowing. He was so mad.
I think after that meeting, we all kind of respected him. What I love about it is he didn't say, "Shut up, if you don't like it, there's the gate." He said, "We're going to make great films."
And Jeffrey just laughed it off and said, "Don't even worry about it." And I think that cemented my relationship with Jeffrey in some weird way, and also cemented my relationship with the artists.
During its release, the film grossed around $50 million worldwide against a budget of just $14 million. This was an incredible success after the failure of the previous film, The Black Cauldron. This gave the management confidence in the animation department that this was something that was desperately needed. This set the stage for the Disney Renaissance. Thank you for watching, guys. This is part of a playlist where I am doing 100 facts about every Disney animated film from the very beginning at Snow White up to the modern era. The next film in the series is Oliver and Company. I'll see you there.